is Heidi, and in case you didn't know, I like to travel. I'll go anywhere, really. Tiny fishing towns on the coast of Portugal, dusty Moroccan villages on the outskirts of the Sahara Desert, tiny tropical islands in the South Pacific. I'll go deep into the Peruvian Amazon and survive. And most recently, I learned that I really love the Serengeti. On a side note, if you want to travel through Africa and get a real experience, try taking a bus anywhere, really. I managed to go from Zimbabwe to Tanzania, and it was totally wild, but very much worth it. Anyways, my point is, I've spoken to people all over the world, telling them how I'm able to travel so much, easing them into conversations about cryptocurrency, how it is a real thing, and how it can and has changed the very concept of money and who has the power to control it. I've been to 10 different countries so far, 7 of which have been a direct result of my experience with SteemIt. But I haven't always been this ambitious. When I was young in school, everything I was taught, I felt like it was just a way to waste time. The curriculum itself didn't seem very important, just as long as the T's were crossed and the I's had dots. It was all very temporary and inconsequential to me. And looking back now, I think I know why. Back then, when I was asked my all-time favorite question of what I wanted to be when I grew up, I never felt confident in giving a concrete answer. I didn't have any intense passion screaming out of me, just waiting to be realized. And going to college certainly didn't help me choose a specific career path, although it did help me rediscover writing, which I'm very grateful for. I remember reading somewhere that artistic souls often have trouble focusing on one path. And although there was no way for me to know it at the time, my complete lack of choosing a career would ultimately allow me to go to the very same places that my imagination would take me when I would read things like National Geographic. Like, just over a month ago, I was in the Serengeti, and our 4x4 was nearly smashed by 2 male elephants fighting at night right near the road. And I just remember seeing a cloud of dust and tusks, and just feeling the complete intensity of the moment. Everyone inside the car was silent except for a few gasps and when one would charge at the other. But let's take it back to the first day I left. I went to Portugal for 3 months, and I didn't come home until 3 months later. As it turns out, getting a change of scenery is good for more than just overcoming writer's block. That decision would prove to be a catalyst for epic changes to come. When I returned to my small hometown in Indiana, I realized a few things. First, that homesickness really doesn't affect me. And second, that I needed to travel again. Exploring different countries had changed from more than just something to check off my bucket list into the single most motivating factor in my life. My whole thought process had changed. I finally knew what it felt like to be truly intrinsically motivated. I was constantly calculating how much time it would take for me to save up enough money for my next trip and how long I could afford to be there. At that point, I felt like a horse with a carrot dangling in front of me, tempting me. I didn't know how I could make this happen, but I knew I finally found my passion and the motivation it needed to pursue it. It had taken me 28 years, but I finally know what I want to do with my life. I want to travel everywhere. I want to experience different cultures and see things I never thought I wanted to see, or never thought I'd be able to see. I want to raise my expectations, and I want to meet them. At this point, I'd already dabbled a bit with making money online. I built my own website along with a few others for some friends so I could make some cash to pay rent. I knew the internet held the answers for my traveling dreams, I just hadn't quite figured out how. Then this beautiful thing called SteemIt came into my life, and although at first I saw it as just one more stream of income to help the lifeline that was my travel budget, it very quickly turned into the sugar daddy that I never knew I wanted. I won't bore you with the details of the blogs I'd written or the fact that I'd made more money in 2 months than I had in the past 5 years combined. That's not important. What is important, though, is that this platform has enabled me to ask all of the questions, the dumb ones, the obvious ones, the repeated ones, and if I'm lucky, the enlightened ones. Questions like, why are we different? How are we similar? What can I learn from this place? And what can I do to leave a positive impact? For me, traveling from place to place, briefly being immersed in someone else's reality is like getting a peek inside what my life could have been like had I been born in that situation. It's taught me how much I can empathize from people from cultures completely different from my own. And it's taught me to fully appreciate the opportunities and blessings that God has enabled to be in my life. But the most obvious reason why I'm able to go to these places and have these experiences is thanks to the creators of SteemIt, Ned and Dan. And really, if you think about it, I'm also indebted to the pioneers of cryptocurrency itself. It's because of them I was able to have a conversation with a woman in Cape Town, telling her how cryptocurrencies can be the solution for the ever-increasingly strict and invasive requirements to have a bank account there. It's why I was able to raise money for Laura, a friend of mine, who moved from Indiana to Peru without knowing anyone or having any past experience. And yet she was able to build up an after-school program for the children of Huaycan, Peru, teaching them English and even the basics of how to code, all in hopes of solidifying their escape from the poverty there. They're the reason why I was able to meet a cool guy from Zimbabwe named Cool. He showed me firsthand what life is like in the slums of Ferrari. He taught me about the shocking wealth divide, and I taught him about SteemIt and Bitcoin. They're the reason I was able to meet with a young man in Zambia named Ivor, who was using all of his time and all of his money to establish a self-sustaining school for over 100 orphans. Eva and Laura have hopes and plans that span further into the future than their funding will allow, but that doesn't stop them. And that's when a huge blinding light went off for me. I could easily set up a Bitcoin wallet for them and help get the word out about their programs. And this would be a really safe and transparent way for them to receive funding. That's the beauty of the blockchain, right? Ivor is now established in what I consider to be a very solid investment, and more importantly, it's in a currency that will never hyperinflate. It didn't take long for Ivor to realize how Bitcoin could help him. When I first began telling him how it works and its current value, I could see the gears in his head start to turn. He was realizing that Bitcoin could be the answer to all of his problems dealing with the banks and bureaucracy. Really, all it takes is a conversation. I absolutely believe that cryptocurrencies have the ability to take many people out of their desperate situations and into a life that would have otherwise just been a pipe dream. In my experience, the people I've spoken with in Africa have been the most enthusiastic and open to investing in cryptos. It's a place where nearly every single citizen is very, very hardworking, and yet most live in poverty. But they're all hungry for a lucky break, and I definitely think cryptocurrency is just that. Of course, it will take time and a lot of effort to get the information widespread, but there is no denying the need is there. I believe as long as there is a need, there will be a way to fill it. And one day soon, cryptocurrency will be more than for just the techies. It'll be for anyone who's interested in investing and storing their money without dealing with the red tape. If it weren't for my own exposure to cryptocurrencies, I'd be back in my father's sign shop, filling orders for the local politicians and the real estate companies. But instead, here I am, talking to you all now, telling you how I've been inspired and my eyes have been opened to what cryptocurrencies can do. What I'm getting at is that everyone here has some knowledge regarding cryptocurrency, whether it's a little or you're a bona fide genius. But I believe we all have the responsibility to spread the knowledge with others. And digital currency isn't going anywhere. I think we all know that. But I think we should try our best to, let's do our best to spread it to places where it hasn't yet reached and where it's needed most. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Heidi. Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Guys, so You didn't tell about the shark adventure, right?
Oh, no, I did not talk about that yet.
How was it? To swim?
It was amazing.
Really?
It was really cool. I felt like I was a crab that, like the crab...
The crab?
The crab traps that they set in the bottom of the ocean, it's like a cage.
Yeah.
I felt like a crab. I was like caught in a cage. And they just dunked me in the water, but yeah.
Wow. Who wants to catch a box? There, William. Okay.
One second. Good. So you seem to be very successful on the Steam platform itself. If there was one piece of advice you could give others, something that really, really worked very well for you, what would be that advice?
I think, just taking from the comments that I've gotten from my early posts, I realized that people could, when I was personal sharing like my own feelings, I think people could relate to that, and it's a good way to establish a relationship with the followers. And also having really nice photos helps too. Having a unique perspective on a situation and just sharing it with people and sharing your own opinion about it has been beneficial for me.
Any more questions? Who want to catch a box? Oh, box.
Quick question, where are you traveling to next? Where are you traveling to next?
Well, I came from Portugal, and I'll return to Portugal again for probably another couple months just because I really like it there. And it's inexpensive, and the food's good, and the ocean, and all that stuff. After that, I'll probably return home for like 2 weeks or so. I haven't seen my mom in a very long time. But after that, it's really open-ended. I would love to go to India. That's definitely high up on my list. Also Iceland, just because it's beautiful, but maybe wait till September. I hear that's a really good time to go there. Yeah. So who knows? Use a laptop.
Yeah, so basically, how many countries have you traveled so far, and what are the biggest hurdles that you've faced while traveling?
I'm sorry?
How many countries have you traveled so far, and what was the biggest challenge when you did that?
Oh, biggest, I've counted 10 different stamps on my passport, so 10. Biggest challenge? I guess just trying to figure out public transportation in different countries is pretty hard. Buses, relying a lot on locals to help me out. And actually, staying with Airbnb has been great because I stay with a person who can tell me all the tricks that I wouldn't have known any other way. Yeah. Taking the bus through Africa was like the best experience I think I've ever had. Crazy, but yeah, definitely like an authentic travel experience. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, Tara.
I don't have a question.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for contributing to SteamIt. It must be hard going and traveling around and feeling like you can help everyone, but really don't know how. And so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah. Oh, there's someone behind you who wants a question.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how you explain cryptocurrencies and SteemIt to people really living off the grid, because I often have problems explaining it just to my friends.
Yeah. The first thing, I try not to say cryptocurrency because they don't know what that means. So I describe it as like digital money and how it's not tied to any particular country, and it's peer-to-peer, so person-to-person. There's no dealing with banks, which is always like, they get excited when they hear that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I never have enough time to really like fully explain it to them. I can just like plant the seed and give them, I always write down like what to look into, like on Google if they have access to the internet. Yeah, just it's a digital money, and it's increasing in value. It's not subject to hyperinflation or inflation, so. What I say with Bitcoin, too, that really clicks with them is that every money is accountable, and there's a limited supply, so they can't print more. And they're always like, oh, okay, that's a really good idea. So, especially in Zimbabwe, they were obviously had very bad experience with that.
Hey.
Hi.
I want to understand something that I don't see much discussed, because for me, traveling as a job or something is very weird. The further I go from home, the more anxious I am. I don't know. The idea is I don't understand, how do you keep friends? How do you keep, it's like you seem to be everywhere, but what's your roots, so to say? So how are your relationships with your friends, family?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Do you miss it? Do you have enough? Do you think that occasional friends that you make for a week, is that enough?
Yeah, that has definitely been a huge change in my life. Actually, luckily for me, when I started traveling, I was in a point in my life where I needed to disconnect from the group of people that I was currently with. It was actually good for me to find better people to surround myself with. So I have a few core people back in my hometown that I keep in contact with, mostly my family. But like my friend Vanessa, I brought her with me here. She's a good friend that I met last year, and we keep in contact and travel occasionally together. It's interesting when you travel a lot, you tend to run into the same like-minded people, and very out-of-the-box thinkers are very open. And I myself have never been a person who has like a lot of friends. I have like a few very close people, so I guess traveling works for me that way. I don't know. I like being alone too, so I don't know. It's an interesting aspect of traveling that people don't necessarily think of too, how it affects relationships. Yeah. There's another question.
So in some of the places where you've explained cryptocurrencies to people, have you found that the state of like internet access is relatively easy for them? Is it more than you'd expect, less than you'd expect, or? And sorry,
yeah.
Ty, a second question. Has that allowed you to stay in contact with some of these people that you've met in these places?
Actually, Ivor, I keep in contact with him, seeing how he was able to utilize the money that I raised for him. Even the slums have internet access, and everyone has a cell phone. Maybe not a smartphone, but there's systems, like, it's interesting to see, like, there's some things that they're delayed on, and some things that it's like the internet and cell phones, they have that, but they don't necessarily have running water or electricity even. So the internet is actually less of an issue, more than just like establishing an address for a bank account. So in that way, that's why I think it's like another way for them to just skip that part and just get right into investing their money or saving it securely. What was did I cover both your questions?
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
It's really interesting, the fact
that
the internet access.
I know, and
address.
Yeah, I remember we were driving through the slums, and there was a building, and he said they didn't have electricity or running water, but there were like satellite dishes all along the building, so they have Wi-Fi. But I know in Africa, I know it's extremely expensive, because I think there's like one, in South Africa at least, there's like one company that's kind of got a monopoly on it. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Heidi.
Hi.
Hilarski here. Regarding social media, do you leverage any other channels? And do you leverage your own blog and repost your posts?
Actually, leveraging, I post a link from my Steemit account to my Facebook to get people to come to Steemit and check it out, and maybe see like, oh, she made money with this? Cool, maybe I should do that. I do Twitter just to get people updated that I posted. My blog, actually, it's my other passion besides traveling is like eating really healthy and cooking. I love to cook, and healthy skincare, so that's what my website is pretty much based on, and I haven't really tapped into that yet with Steemit, and I haven't, reposted any blogs from my website.
I recommend doing it.
Yeah.
Very good SEO, guys.
Thanks. I'll probably get into that.
I feel like I'm cheating because I've already asked you 20 questions, but
21 questions.
21 questions. That's right. Just wondering, what was your friends and family's reaction back in July when you were making thousands off of these posts?
Yeah, my mom, she was like, I don't know how it works, but this is awesome. Keep writing. And it was really good too, because she was able to learn about my travels maybe in ways that I wasn't able to talk to her on the phone about, or see photos that was hard for me to share with her. So she would always be like, oh, I saw your post, oh, that's great, oh, that's a crazy story. And yeah, so they're very enthusiastic. They're just like kind of, yeah, well, let's see where this goes, who knows, but so far so good. So it's kind of been their attitude, yeah.
Hi, Heidi. Great pictures.
Thanks.
I'm curious if you use any other currency like frequent flyer miles, which are horrible centralized currency that constantly devalues. But you travel so much. Do you save like Delta Sky miles or anything else?
I use a United, what is it, Mileage Plus or something,
Mileage
just
Plus.
because they have 0 transaction fees or 0
Fuel
international.
surcharges.
Yeah, and I haven't renewed them yet, so I've just been racking them up. So maybe I'll afford that trip to India.
Totally.
Yeah. So is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you guys.